Hey there, I'm Mel and this is Rachel. Glad you're joining us. Rachel is a teacher trainer, yoga teacher trainer extraordinaire, and instructional expert for yogis and others, and one of my besties. And what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about, so you know when you're a newer teacher, and I see this so much in my graduates, they get up in front of the class to teach, and they're like, I don't know what to say.
Sure.
Like, I don't know what to say. So when you're up there and you're starting off, how do you know what to teach to when you're kind of like, the world's gone blank? Right? Mm-hmm. I remember like that. It's so scary. You get up there and you think I have nothing to offer. So what are some tips we can offer to our newer teachers out there to support you in those moments?
Such a great exploration. The first thing I would say is to create a consistent container. And you may call that a ritual. So to create a consistent way that you uniquely you begin class. Now that doesn't mean that no one else has ever in the history of yoga started class that way, but this is the way you start class. Like for me, I use a Sanskrit invocation, but it doesn't have to be something like that. So to take that moment to say in your body, in your student's body, that we are moving now into a different mode. This mode of regular is important, but now this mode of moving into our practice is equally important. So have something that you do. And I highly recommend, as a new teacher, to not start your students in Tadasana, mountain pose, right up in your face.
It's terrifying. They're looking at you with their faces.
With their lovely faces.
Right there, expectantly looking at you.
Don't.
Child's pose.
Yes. Child's pose or
closed.
supine on their back with their knees bent, right? If it's, let's say, a little older group or a beginner group, have them down, no eyes on you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And it lets you, because if you're newer too, and this happens to me if I get nervous, like if you came to my class, I'd be nervous.
Sure, I'm scared.
Yeah, right? So it gives us, as the facilitator of that space, an opportunity to also be grounded, to witness, and to kind of look over your stewardship, your community, where you're like, okay, this is where I'm at. And I think us being connected, and you've touched on this before, but us being connected in ourselves is so important to do that first, to actually hold space in a real way.
Absolutely. It is essential.
Yes.
And then once you're anchored in yourself, in your breath, and you've passed over the bridge from there to here, now it's time for class, and you're in class, then exactly what you said, look, put your attention on your class. What do you see?
Yes, this is so essential, and it's sometimes I still have to work on it.
Sure.
We get up in our head, we're thinking about the sequence, we're thinking about, this is what I learned in teacher training to cue. Yeah. And if we look at the students, you realize how much you know and how much information they're giving you about what they need.
Yes.
Right?
Right. You really see if you have a room of students who seemed very seasoned, they know exactly, they put their blankets underneath their knees, their neck is support. Then right, it tells you what's needed or what's not needed. And then just one step at a time. So I feel like you only need the first step.
Yeah, don't need the whole thing.
No, don't get ahead of yourself. Just start with, let's say they're in child's pose. Extend through the arms. And then see how that works. And you can see, they used their arms, but they didn't move from their spine. Okay, so lift up through the belly, extend through the spine, extend through the arms. And then it will start to reveal itself to you. You're already on the path. You don't have to think about where you're going.
Thing.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to just have the mansion built. You just have to put one brick down at a time.
Yes.
One brick at a time. One thing that I like to think about, just to orient myself, I'm a intellectual...
Really? I would never know.
So one thing that is helpful to me...
She's a genius.
One thing that's helpful to me when I'm thinking about a pose and looking around is if I'm feeling like I'm just not sure how to see the room.
Oh yeah.
I think, what's the purpose of this pose? What's the purpose of it? Why am I teaching this pose? What do I want them to get experience out of it?
Yes.
And then from there, it's like there's so much to talk about. Warrior 2, you're kind of like, I want them to feel their legs, and well, everybody better bend their knee and get their knee over their ankle and sit down, you know, or I want them to feel strong. So that'll start to give you, I want them to feel the external rotation of their front thigh, because that's a really good thing to find in this particular pose, right? So if looking around the room, if you go a little like the deer in the headlights, kind of, okay, what am I trying to teach? And then you can.
Yes.
And I love what you said about pausing, like give them one thing and then see what happens, see what the ripple effect is. It's like that leads you.
Yeah, and then you know if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
I would say if you have a deer in the headlights moment, or a moment where you have any extreme emotion, and we can talk about that, I would move out of the visual field of your students again. So now if they are up in Warrior 2, what have you, maybe you move to the back of the room and anchor yourself again. If you're teaching within a space without walls, you won't be able to do this. But if you have a space with walls, which many of us do, then you can go to the back of the room and actually anchor your back to the wall, which I find is very, very helpful when I'm up in my head, or I'm feeling something. Right. And that could be maybe I'm trying to communicate something and I don't think, little Mel is like, they're not doing it, whatever. Yeah. And then I get mad. I mean, I am human. And then I think,
she's
oh my
Italian.
Goodness, I'm Italian. And I think, oh my gosh, I got mad. Like I don't want to ever touch anyone in strong emotion or mad. So I go to the back of the room, I anchor, and then I take a deep breath and I remind myself that I'm here to be of service, and to be of service, it is to clearly, with compassion, take a look at the students and see how I can be helpful.
Mm-hmm. We're going to save that for another chat, the being of service. That's huge. Mm-hmm. So we'll hold on to that. But that's good. So I think that's good. Suggestions for the blanking out.
I think so too. And just know you're not the only.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're not the only.
I've been teaching at least 3 weeks, and and I still have those moments.
One thing I like to do in terms of getting out of their field of vision is, if it's a real moment for me, it's like putting the students in child's pose or downward dog. Mm-hmm. If it's intense, and it'll come back. But it's like if you need to take a break, downward dog, where they're kind of. They're doing something hard. Downward dog is not easy, but it's also like there's a moment where you don't feel on the spot. I like getting out of their field of vision.
Absolutely,
it's super helpful.
Okay, so we're cheering you on.
Yes.
Okay.
Cheers.